All right, we'll now start to block in this region right here. The way we're going to be doing it is we're going to be using existing polygons to do this. One of the reasons we used a cylinder was so that we would have a very nice and clean base. So we have this really nice cylindrical base, since this is really nice and cylindrical. Now, instead of starting to move polygons into place and try to place every single one, we can already get a really nice base just from what we have. So let's start by selecting these edges right here. A cool way of actually selecting things is not to do a range select like so. You could do this as well, totally valid. But that requires you to be more specific. What I prefer is to be a bit lazy. So select this entire section and then just control drag over the what I want to deselect. And then we have selected this like so. It just means that I can select it like so without having to click here and then navigate to where I want to and then clicking. But it has the exact same effect. Now I want to, while this is being selected, I want to extrude it down. And we can do this by holding down the shift key and just extrude down like so. Now, if you're not using Maya 2020, then you have to just go shift right mouse button and extrude edges, and that will do exactly the same thing. Now, this is where we actually have to bring up our trusted front view as well, because now we're dealing with some some more complex lineups. I'll also hide this top dome, because this is really confusing right now. So you can see that in the front view, it's almost impossible to tell what's going on in this exact region. Like, is this a front-facing edge or a back-facing edge? It's hard to tell. So I'll select this loop here. You can select really what you want. It's just a bit easier. And then I'll grow the selection. Control right mouse button, grow selection and grow. And then I'll just hit the G key a few times. G will just repeat the last action. So I'll grow it until I've hit this area. Now I'll hit H, and now this hides the polygons. If you want to bring it back, you just hit H again, and this will just toggle whatever is hidden. So now you can see it's a lot easier to see what's going on. Then we'll make a loop go across this. This is so that we can get the start of the eyes in. So go into object mode, right mouse button in object mode, and then we go to shift right mouse button and multi-cut. And now we can start to cut in. Make sure that edge flow is disabled, which we do by control shift right mouse button, or by going into the actual multi-cut settings and making sure the edge flow is disabled, which we used in the last chapter. So I want to put this around here. So just in this case, I'm not going to hold down middle mouse button while dragging. I'm just going to cut it right so. So I get this point. And now what we can do some additional cuts. We can cut from here, and we can cut down here. And now you're shouting at the screen, but Henning, that would create triangles. Yeah, but it's fine, because we're going to just be using this to create the overall shape. Right mouse button to commit to the cut. So now you can see what we've done. We have created a nice cut in without actually having to disrupt the curve at all. So now we can select these two, and then we can shift right mouse button, delete edges. And now you can see that we have now created this nice curve while still preserving the actual curvature. Now we can go in and select this vertex, and now we can start to place these around a little bit better. So hold the D key to make sure this orients to this edge. We can just move it down a little bit like so, just so it has a nice curvature to it. And we will just have to go in and do some manual cutting, or manual shaping. You can see this fits perfectly in this view, but it doesn't fit perfectly in this view. This should really be across here, but we'll just do that a bit later. For now, I just want to delete these two, and the reason is so that we have a nice. Actually, delete this one as well, so that we have a nice hole for this to go into. So you can see my method is very general to specific. So select these two and then delete. And then we'll do the same thing here as well. Now, in order to get this curve, we could of course just move these verts up, but we can also go to shift right mouse button, multi-cut. And now we can just go outside and just drag down a curve. Let's just do it again so I hit the curve a bit better. And then we can just delete it. Delete this guy. And then delete. And there we go. So now you can see it's starting to kind of come together. We'll do the same thing here as well. We'll we'll of course just move this a little bit nicer into place beforehand, because this is all over the place right now. We'll just move this a little bit in. And it's really important when you do this that you look in the 3/4 view. It's incredibly easy to mess up your shapes if you're only looking at the front and side view. I can't express how important that is and how many times I messed that up by looking at only one view. We're just going to move this a bit forward, like so. So I think it would fit a bit better in the 3/4 view. It's a bit too much. Let's do something more like this. And now we can start to do a cut. I'm going to do a cut. Actually, let's just move it down a little bit so we have a bit more geo. And this is deliberate. Now we're going to do a cut here as well. So shift right mouse button, multi-cut. And we'll just do a straight cut going down. And this is so much easier than doing a cut, which we actually go through and we do cut. Because now we have a nice straight cut from the side. But because this has a curvature to it, we see we get this very nice and elegant curve. So use the multi-cut tool a lot for this. Select these guys and delete them. And now we can start to move these into place a little bit. We will just have to move this in the viewport, like in the actual 3D viewport, because it's very hard to move this to be in the actual ortho views to look really nice. We can go use soft selection for this, which just makes it a little bit easier. If we double click on the transform tool and we scroll down to soft select, we can use soft select. But one thing I want to make sure is that we have set this to surface and not volume. But default is going to be set to volume. And what this is going to do, let's say we want to move this one. This is just a general volume from this area. But if we set this to surface, now you can see that it moves based on the actual surface of it. It's more like growing a selection. So I want to select this point. And then I want to make sure that these are matching up approximately. So I'm trying now in the 3D view to make this, just trying to make this match up approximately. You can use the ortho view or can use the 3D view, but the point is it just needs to fit a little bit better. So just move this up like so. So it's kind of nice that we have the soft select on because it just gives a little bit of a fall off, but we can also disable it with the B key if it's not needed. Then we can just make sure this has a nice curve. What I'm really trying to get is this nice curve in the 3D view. Like we can, of course, just get the curve here, but it's really important that this flows in the 3D view as well. Well, not as well. That's the most important thing, that it flows in the 3D view. So now you can see this is too flat here. So I just need to make sure this retains a bit more volume. What's more important than making sure everything matches up is that the overall landmarks are there. So you can see that this is now way too forward based on reference, and that just means that this curve is not extreme enough. So I'm gonna try to get this curve to be way more extreme. We're just gonna move both of these in a little bit, like so. And don't be afraid to do too extreme moves. We can always bring it back as well. So just move it in like so. So now this matches pretty well, but as you can see, we're now screwing up everything around it. So we will just have to go in and just massage some of these points more into place. There's just no way around that. So for the vast majority of my career, I've been using mostly just the perspective view for modeling because it offers me so much more control over the final shape, because that is really what's most important. Particularly for a project like this, or like in this case, we just want to make a cool Spartan helmet. It doesn't matter like if we make one exact model. And the reference we're using here, this is a 3D model I've already built for us, just so we have some nice reference, and we're just trying to source 40 different reference images. But when I built that, it's not based on one exact model. It's based on a multitude of different models. So this is a case where we can see we're in trouble. This is actually an excellent example. It looks fine in the front view. It looks fine in the side view, but it doesn't look fine in perspective view. So we just have to massage this into place. There is really no way around that. We just have to go in and just make sure the points are working nicely with each other, even if this means that it's not going to match up perfectly in the different views. Like if you want to match this perfectly, you really need more dimensions. You really need a top view as well, potentially a bottom view. The way we did this in VFX when I was working in film is we would have scans for everything. So you wouldn't really match this up based on views like this. And then we're going to just make sure this reads. Like what I'm trying to do is that I'm trying to make this feel the same way, meaning I want to make this to feel a bit menacing, because otherwise, why are we doing a Spartan helmet? It's way more important to get the overall feeling across than making it match something perfectly. So here you can see it's too straight now. So I want to just move this out a little bit like so, just so we get a bit more curve. And that might have broken the matching of the reference. You can also just try to make this align a little bit more with the top and the bottom. Now you have to think about the functionality here. Like I want to kind of make this be in the same axis as this, but you can also think functionality when it comes to like how is this helmet being worn. If you have a bit more of a brow on a helmet, maybe that takes a bit more of the blow to the eye. Or if you have this one sticks in a little bit more, maybe the eye is more vulnerable. So I'm always trying to think about functionality as well for it, like thinking why was this manufactured in this way. So I'm spending a lot of time just trying to make the different shapes read. So in this case, I see that this shape is not reading perfectly. So I'm just gonna move this in a little bit. And like I said before, this is gonna be pretty bashed up, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but we just have to make a nice clean base because everything becomes easier later on from that. Okay, now we can hit in polygon mode or in face mode, we can hit the H key again to make this come back. And now we can see where we are. What we can also do is we can do a test mirror just to see where we are. We can do shift right mouse button and mirror. And now you can see this mirrors. And obviously we have to set the merge threshold to be lower. This should be set to something 001. And now we can see where we're at. So we're in a pretty okay spot right now. We have, of course, some issues. We have some normal issues here, which we can fix. This just means that these areas, these normals are hard and these are soft. So what we can do is we can do shift right mouse button, soft and harden edges, and we can set this to soft and harden. So it's a really good idea to just check this. If you're modeling this as a prop for an actual soldier like a hoplite or something, I recommend that you actually put this on the helmet, on the person. It really sucks if you spend like 20 hours modeling something and it doesn't actually fit. So we're in a pretty okay spot right now. We can go in and we can delete the polymer. So we can select the node and we can just do edit and delete node. This is a lot more elegant than trying to, select half and redo that. It's a lot better to just procedurally trying to delete it. So we're in a pretty okay spot. In the next one, we are going to refine this model more.